Hey folks, I'm Jason DeCristofaro, and welcome to another episode of 5 to 15 with Musickers. I'm thrilled to be here today with Ed Carrasquillo. He is an incredible artist, not just in the music world, but the visual world, and we're going to talk about the marriage of both those elements and how he's made a career, not just as a percussionist and a visual artist, but also as a builder of these amazing musical instruments. So Ed, thank you so much
Oh
for
man,
being
thank you, Jason. It's awesome to be here.
It is. Thank you. Yeah, thanks for being with us. We're going to start us off with a little bit of music. This instrument you've built here, can you tell us what it is and then maybe play a little for us?
Yeah, well, this is it's a new concept, a relatively new concept that I didn't actually invent, but I recreated it.
Yeah.
This is it's called what I call a book dig. It's the math on it is completely different from what was already been produced, but I realized by building the dig, I was able to actually identify the key depending on the size of the volume that's inside there. So I can create a low C or a D,
Oh, wow. Yeah.
which is really, really cool. And this one is particularly in a C. And this is a fantastic item. This instrument works on a linear travel. So even though the book dig is only 10 inches long, it's actually 55 inches in length.
It's just condensed.
It's condensed into a
Yeah.
space. So you get to channel the air in order to create the sound of a didgeridoo in the size that this is.
Well, that's what blew my mind when you played this earlier. Is a didgeridoo, you have this long tube that creates that channel for the sound, and you've condensed it to the size of something that's like a paperback.
That's right. Well, the cool thing about these is, like, of course, you can create little bags and stuff for them. But the nice thing about these small diges is that for a dig player, you don't have to lug around this really long, massive, heavy dig.
Right.
You can stick this right in your backpack, and you can actually have 3 of them in there, so you can actually stack them and play like this.
I'll play melodies.
Correct.
Right. Yeah.
Or you can put a mic piece on it, and I play it when I'm playing my cajon.
Yeah.
So it's really cool, you know?
Right. It's easier to hold than a whole didgeridoo.
Yeah, so I got excited about this.
What does this piece do, this component?
Well, this component just fell off because it was knocked off by some other instruments when I'm stacking everything in my pack and stuff like that. It just knocked off. But that's the mouthpiece, and you could put beeswax in there to adjust the size of the aperture for your mouth.
Yeah.
So then that allows you to do that. But because the opening on this is really just right for me, I can actually dig with it. And
without the mouthpiece.
Without the mouthpiece.
I'd love to hear some of that. I'm sure viewers would too.
Yeah, it's cool. All right, so this is what a book dig sounds like.
That's incredible.
It's crazy.
So much sound in such a compact thing. That's incredible.
Yeah, and when you're all mic'd up with this thing,
right,
you're on stage and you're putting this through a sound system.
Yeah,
it is off the wall. People are freaking out because they're going, "There's no way all that sound is coming out of that little box." So well, it's really cool.
To me, you're almost like a sorcerer or a magician because I don't have a mechanical bone in my body. So anybody who does anything with any type of craftsmanship in terms of instrument building, I'm blown away by it. It's incredible. And I've seen a lot of instruments, we've played together, and the bongo cajon, and of course your cajons. I mean, there's all kinds of things you've built. We were just talking about rattles. I didn't even know about the book dig. You built native flutes. At what point did you start building all these instruments, and what was sort of the inspiration for, I'm going to start building my own instruments?
Yeah. Well, actually, it was through an eye diagnosis when I was much younger. I was diagnosed at the time, or misdiagnosed at the time, with macular degeneration, or an advanced macular degeneration. But I was only in my 40s. Actually, not even. I was 35 at the time. And that was a very dramatic thing for me because I'm a visual artist. I paint, I sculpt, I work with glass and wood. And when a doctor tells you that your eyesight is literally at risk for being completely blind.
Yeah.
And since at the time they didn't really know exactly what was causing this progression from my eyes from having no glasses at all to now having some very serious vision problems.
Yeah.
I was already involved in music. I played the accordion when I was much younger.
No way.
Yeah, I
That's
have
cool.
a beautiful one here.
That's wild. Yeah.
Yeah, and I played trombone, so I played horns and brass instruments. So I was already in music, and I love music. But my whole life was in the arts. I was doing visual arts.
Yeah.
I had just shortly moved out of a short career in Fort Lauderdale, South Miami, building large-scale sculptures for nightclubs and restaurants and things like that. So my eyes were my bloodline. It was really everything to me. And if you've ever been asked the question, if you can lose your vision or your hearing, which would you choose? Well, I had to choose right then. I had to choose whether or not I give up the chemicals that I was using in my arts, because that's what the doctor said that he can only contribute it to, is that maybe it was the chemicals that I was working with fiberglass and all this other stuff, that maybe that was affecting my eyesight. So he says, if I were you, I would completely retire from any of the arts using chemicals and choose an alternative lifestyle. So I said, whoa, okay, that's pretty freaky. Literally, it was within a month that I retired out of the Dreamscapes experience, and I stopped doing shows nationwide.
Can you tell our viewers a little bit about the Dreamscapes? Because we were talking about this earlier, and it's a really incredible process.
Yeah, some people maybe have been familiar with getting off of a cruise ship or something and seeing these people on the sidewalks doing spray can art. You know, just they take spray cans and pots and pans and they make all these planets and stuff. Well, like with everything that I've done, I've had to always take it to the next level.
Yeah.
So I polished and refined that craft, and I got to be doing fine art shows throughout the country. And one of the only artists that ever used spray can that were actually invited to do juried shows.
Wow.
You know, which was really amazing. And that's because of something that I actually invented, which was the smallest 4700 CFM vacuum system that was a mock down from an actual paint booth for automotive industries.
Wow.
So I enclosed myself in glass. I had track lighting and a huge mirror above me and an 80-watt sound system. And I put this thing on the road behind my motorhome in a trailer. And I literally offloaded everything, and I would entertain packs of hundreds in front of me. And I started doing this as a performance art.
Wow.
In front of hundreds of people, and I was on Nickelodeon and Fox Kids and every kind of news network, and I've had magazines written about me.
So you're like Da Vinci and Houdini, and you're like all these you're like an artist, you're an engineer, you're an entertainer, you're a musician. It's incredible.
Yeah.
So at this point in your career, you're switching from the visual arts to music.
Yeah.
And we had talked about, I think earlier, some of the first things you built, and it was really cool because it was this very personal type of instrument. Can you share more about the vase drums that you were building?
Right. Yeah, so I started building. Now, by the way, I knew nothing of the cajon. Nothing of the cajon.
Yeah.
All I knew is that I worked with wood in my sculptures. I was a very skilled woodworker. I was an artist, I was a sculptor. So it just seemed like a really comfortable and easy transition to start working with drums with wooden surfaces.
Yeah.
So I started taking like these round wooden vases or wooden bowls, and I would make these bowls on my lathe sometimes, and sometimes I'd find really good deals on salad bowls and stuff like that, you know? And then I'd find like, I'd be in a thrift shop and I'd see this like Indonesian wooden vase, you know?
And the artist, you just knew like,
you know, it's the hyper creative in me. It's a person that says, well, I can take all of that and all of that, flip it around, cut out the bottoms and merge them.
Yeah.
And then put a wooden top on it. So I said, well, they played fantastic. They were playing under the arms, you know, like the Middle Eastern drums. Or
like a dudek, or
Exactly.
Yeah,
you can do that, and you can get all these little pitches and stuff. And so then what I did was, and when I built them for me, I was just going to drum circles and carry them with me. And then people wanted to buy one. So I started making them for friends.
Yeah.
And but what I discovered is that I wanted these drums to be much more personal. There was room for a much deeper connection to the instrument. So if I was going to build the instrument and spend all this time refining it and beautifying it and putting these beautiful like stud beads around it, then I would go ahead and create a mandala on the actual playing surface of the drum.
And can you a mandala? What is that?
A mandala is a spherical, triangular, square, mostly anything that has a beautiful border by which you literally put patterns around this border and then enter the center rings and the center rings and the center rings. So you're creating a collage of whether it be geometric patterns or organic things like leaves or animals or whatever those prints are. And most people draw or paint these things. But I also loved woodworking. I've even taken woodworking in California, wood burning, and I took an hourglass, a magnifying glass, and used the sun. And I was literally carving things into the wood, burning things into the wood with the sun. And you can see people when I was making like cats and dogs and leaves and stuff like that. So I started burning their life into the head of the drum. So I would interview people that were interested in my product, and then I would build them a drum that was something more to what they had liked, like either an hourglass shape or anything like that. And then I would go ahead and put the wooden head on, and I would do all the artwork that included their very deep and personal and spiritual beliefs. And I would try to create the images of their life and burn them into the head of the drum so that the drum became more of a sacred item to them.
Well, it's an extension of their being. It's a really truly personal thing, and it's not just like, oh, I got this custom thing. No, it's like it's actually it's part of them.
It is part of them. It literally tells their story, and then while they're playing it, they can close their eyes and bury themselves into this amazing journey that they've taken all their lives, and literally drum to the beat of their own path.
That's amazing. And this is the thing that I find, your instruments sound amazing and look amazing, but I think it's the whole philosophy you have behind building your instruments. Because there's a lot of people now, especially in the last 10 years or so, you see a lot of custom drum builders. That's a big part of the industry now, right? You see obviously the big manufacturers and a lot of smaller companies, but your stuff has a very unique and personal flavor. Just like the Dig Book and the Bongo Cone, all these things that are very much your creation. What really inspires you, is the big thing. That's probably a big question. There's probably a lot of things, but when you get up to go and work on an instrument, what are some of the things that you're thinking or feeling that inspire you in that creative process?
Well, believe it or not, it's the end of the product. It's the end of the build. I think my biggest joy in building, painting, drawing, whatever, is the experience that someone is going to have when they visualize it, when they see it, when they feel it, when they touch it,
the manifestation of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So sometimes people have asked me, well, why do you continue building? Why do you continue going out to like tempo music every Saturday in the snow, in the rain? It's because it's more than the build, it's more than the music. It's creating an experience that not just my customers, but anybody that I can interact with can hold and manifest a smile and beautiful, loving feelings and joyfulness in their heart. I'm sitting down with people who've never even heard of a cajon before, and all of a sudden, they're smiling from ear to ear. And one of the things that I ask them in the end is, how do you feel now that you've learned how to play this? And they feel great. And the cool part about that is that I cannot erase any of that any longer. It is set in stone. It's set in their heart as a beautiful memory. So 10, 3 years, 5 years down the road, they're going to look back on that time and say, remember when we sat down in Hendersonville, met this guy and he was teaching us how to play a cajon?
Yeah.
That's the experience. And when they talk about that experience, it's never really a downer. It's usually a really happy time.
It's an uplifting.
It's an uplifting time. They've got smiles on their face. So when people say, well, why do you keep doing it? Well, because I can't think of any other opportunity for me to build an instrument that will outlast me by 3 generations.
Wow.
2 or 3
Yeah.
generations.
Yeah.
You look at a piece of antique furniture, well taken care of, it's 2, 3, 400 years old.
Yeah.
I'm building my drums and all my other products at the highest level that I possibly am capable of doing. So long after I'm gone, at some point, anywhere in this world,
Yeah.
someone's gonna sit on my product and have a smile on their face.
Yeah.
And people are gonna be dancing around them from something that I contributed to.
That's beautiful. Well, Ed, I just want to say thank you. You're an inspiring individual. I think for me, it's inspiring to hear. I know for our folks, it's inspiring to just really hear how you've used a lot of different talents in your creativity and combined these to manifest something that has a lasting impact. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Before we go, can you just tell our viewers a little bit about the name of your business and how they can learn more about your work, if you have a website or anything like that?
Yeah. So it's Tribalscapes Music. And they can email me at tribalscapesmusic@gmail.com. And also, my website is tribalscapesmusic.com.
Perfect.
And then you can look at anything you want there. I do custom build, so most of my work is custom built to the player. So if you're very short in stature, then I'll build you a drum that best fits your inseam for a cajon.
Yeah.
So that they're shorter and squattier, but they
Yeah.
still have a really deep bass and everything, because we've opened up the drum also since my last design. And and if you want it custom colored, then I do that, except for like graphics that can get me in trouble.
Sure.
I'm not going to do anything like that, but I'll do my artwork and stuff like that on them. It's pretty cool.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and
Ed,
thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity to just talk to you about music and just getting involved with people who are really into learning about music and the energies around it and the creative process to either get behind the scenes in music or in front of the scene or in front of the camera to perform, which I also love doing. So, yeah, man, this is all good.
Awesome. Ed, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Everyone, have a great day, y'all.